This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 35.
I had a buddy who took out a line of credit on his house and put
Oh,
several
no
hundred thousand
way.
dollars into it.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. He was once accused of causing Apple's stock to crash. Seriously. Yeah, that was not cool, man. Clay Trader.
Now, I realize that this sounds very goofy and very unrealistic. Actually, let me put it this way. If this does not sound goofy or unrealistic, then please take off your tinfoil hat because you are definitely wearing one. But, people out there in the trading world, usually in the penny stock world, there's some of them that think that when I do a video chart analysis on a stock there's all sorts of theories, but basically that if the stock goes down the next day, I am the reason. It is Clay Trader that caused this to go down. Some people say shorting. Other people say it's my group that's shorting. The theories are unlimited out there. But usually, like I said, it's penny stocks. However, in a few instances, I've done video analysis on big boards. And, the biggest I could really think of was, Apple. And I had a few people say, oh, Clay Trader did a video. That's why Apple's down today. And they're not serious because I kind of just, yeah, good one. And they've made it clear that no, I know what you're up to. I know that a video chart is a sign for your big shorting group to come in and drive things down. And I'm just thinking, wow, a YouTube video, is it really going to cause Apple to go down in price? Like I said, if you're thinking, yeah, Clay, I know what you're up to. That's what's going to happen. Take off your tinfoil hat. In fact, I think Ches is wearing a tinfoil hat right now. Do you think that I caused Apple to go down?
You not only caused Apple to go down, you caused Twitter to lose like 75% of its value, continuously posting video charts on it. So would you please stop the malicious shorting, Clay? I can't take it anymore. My portfolio's bled out, and I'm begging for change here under the bridge. So just stop. Please stop.
And Ches is just being funny, but I've had stuff like that where it's literally people, think that these video charts are something evil. So and I highly doubt any of these people are going to be listening to this anyways, just because I'm a big evil guy in their own eyes. But it's just one of those things that's funny, You'll find it all in the world of message boards and social media, and just there's conspiracy theories about, and I guess I am now a part of some of these in some of these people's eyes. But anyways, always makes me laugh when I get accused of causing stocks to fall because I did a simple YouTube, chart analysis. But today, we are interviewing Dirt Wolf. That's his alias, but we'll call him Matt. I thought it might be kind of weird if during the interview I'm saying, hey, Dirt this and hey, Dirt that. So we're just going to call him Matt. But Dirt Wolf, like I said, is his alias in the chat room. And he's actually a financial advisor. So it's a first financial advisor we've interviewed. So we get a good little perspective there. And he's got quite a journey in terms of, getting some good entry points, and making some money, losing some money, and then truly basically causing me to cry because when he explains where he is right now in terms of his strategy and trade plan, when he explains it, Ches and I, we were both just handing each other tissues because we were so inspired by it. So to see the progress he's made is really, really just pretty mind-boggling, and it's one that, it's just awesome to hear about, to see where he was and then where he is now currently at. So let's get started and hear from Dirt Wolf, otherwise known as Matt. All right, Matt, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, guys. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, I'm doing even better now. You really got on my good side. For those of you that have listened to quite a few of the podcasts, then you know that one of the fun facts was I'm a big Survivor fan. And so was Matt. So we had a little Survivor conversation before we even got started here. So while him and I were geeking out, Ches kind of just looked at us like we were geeks. But whatever. I think Ches is the geek in this situation. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Survivor. Although I don't know, Matt, maybe we'll have to start some reality podcast sometime about reality TV, and we can just geek out and Ches can listen to us. Ches, would you listen to that podcast?
That's another niche market, but no, I will not be getting involved in that one. I will not be co-hosting. Do not ask me. I don't watch enough television. You guys are the television watchers here.
All right. Well, we'll maybe have a little meeting about that later. But anyways, let's actually talk about trading. So Matt, where did this all start for you? What got you interested? What was your first kind of, when did you first hear about the market? And we'll just kind of see where the wind takes us from here.
Yeah, so I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with the market for the last 10 years or so. But really, I think I got started back in college. Went to college originally to be a math teacher, and realized after a short period of time that I didn't really like dealing with other people's kids. And you can't make a whole lot of money being a teacher. It's great to have summers off, but I kind of wanted to make a little more money, so I ended up going into business at the time, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. But my academic advisor in college kind of recommended being a financial advisor. So I think that's how I kind of got into the market. Got hired as a financial advisor and thought I was just going to be trading stocks for people, and unfortunately, that's not really what you do as a financial advisor. So.
Well, I want to just, just to kind of, I don't know, maybe compliment you. I don't know what I'm trying to do here other than maybe reiterate your good decision. But I don't like other people's kids. Yeah, I mean, even if you were okay with the money that math teachers made, I think you still probably made a good decision if you don't like because last time I checked, I don't know, maybe teaching has changed, but you have to deal with other people's kids. That's how that works, isn't it?
Yes, you definitely have to deal with other people's kids. And it's not that I don't necessarily like kids or anything like that, but it's just seeing the way people handle their kids. It just wasn't something I wanted to do. I mean, you look at it now, and kids go to school, and then they go home, and it's your fault that they didn't learn, and there's just no accountability from the parents. So that's
gotcha. Well, it was good that you recognized this at that point rather than, after you get your 4-year degree and then your first day on the job is, oh crap, I wish I would have realized this about myself beforehand. So good on you for realizing that. So are you right now, you're a financial advisor? Is that kind of what's going on, or is this just way back when you got started?
Yep, I still am. Right now I'm currently building a financial planning practice. I've been doing that for 10 years now. And I don't really get into the trading with clients. It's more of a modern portfolio theory, buy and hold, kind of move things around that way. But I do trading personally myself.
Now, after you got into kind of being a financial advisor, did that give you any insight for, say, your own trading? Or were you doing any trading prior to this, or did you kind of come into financial advising and then maybe pick up on that buy and hold strategy for your own portfolio? Or when did you decide to become more active? I know you're more active now, but what was the turning point from buy and hold investor to more active for yourself?
So no, when you start as a financial advisor, there's really no trading education that they provide. It's just more of a get into the financial planning and put together a portfolio. You really don't get into the buy and sell things on a daily basis. I didn't really get into the trading aspect of it until I worked for TD Ameritrade for four years or so. And that got me into the trading aspect of things. But I was doing some trading beforehand. I think I first started trading in 2007, before I started at TD Ameritrade.
So what were you trading at that point in time? Because I'm sure in your financial advising classes and all that for portfolio theory, I mean, I know at that point you learned you just dump people's money into penny stocks. So I mean, I'm that's really the education is that pretty accurate? Penny stocks, is that where you have your clients' money?
Yes, yeah. Penny stocks is where it's at. I mean, where else are you going to see the 1,000+% gains that you can get there? I
mean, and yeah, when you can tell your clients, look, man, I just bought you 50 million shares today of this 000 stock. I mean, you're going to sound like a pretty good. That's going to sound pretty fancy. But back to all seriousness. So, what were you actually trading before you joined TD Ameritrade? And how'd that all go?
Yeah, so I didn't really think I could trade the big board stocks. So that's where I kind of got into the penny stocks, where you could buy a ton of shares, as you said, for a very cheap amount of money. And my first experience with the penny stocks was about 2007. I don't know if you're familiar with or had heard of Skinny Water, SKNY.
SKNY. No, that one's actually not ringing a bell. That was right towards when I was starting to kind of dip my toe into things too. So no, I can't say that I've heard of that one. But
Yeah,
please tell us. I bet. Where were you? Where did you come across it?
it was back when the whole vitamin water craze was happening, and it started. I don't know if you're familiar with. He's a well-known businessman here in Philadelphia by the name of Pat Croce. He was the general manager for the Philadelphia 76ers, and he was invested in it. He was promoting the product. So I'm sitting there thinking he's invested in it. He's a multimillionaire. This thing must be great. It's got to be going to the moon, right? And we got. I mean, my first experience, the Kool-Aid was really flowing with this one. I mean, we had. I mean, all my friends were in it. Parents, you name it. We were telling everybody this thing was, going to the moon. And you could go to the stores and buy it. So that was my first real experience with the whole penny stock market.
Now, what was the price of this stock at that time?
I want to say it was around. I think it was around 3 or 4 cents at the time.
Interesting. So you come from financial planning, where I think it's pretty safe to say that most of the time it's taught, anything under $5 or $10 is generally not that's, usually you stray away from some of that because it might be a little more risky, but you decide to go into a 3 or 4 cent stock. So, I mean, did you just do that because you thought the returns could be huge and, you saw this billionaire behind it, or, what even led you to look at something that low priced?
Yeah, I wanna because earlier, good question, Ches. You said I didn't think I could trade big boards. So why? Yeah, what Ches is asking is, I mean, dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone wants to trade those big names like Apple and Netflix and IBM, but they're all trading over $100 a stock. So it takes a lot of capital to get in there. So I was just trying to figure out a way I could get started in this whole process, and having that big name behind it, it really allowed myself to get caught up in this whole Kool-Aid and thinking that this was going to be the next best thing, and it was just going to explode, and I was going to have all these shares that were going to be worth tons of money, just buying into the whole hype and dreaming the dream.
Dreaming the dream, yeah. Where were you getting? Who was helping you dream this dream? Was this message board, social media? I mean, where was the main source of the Kool-Aid for you?
At this point, I don't think it was the message boards. It was more along the lines of the name behind it. At the time, I had some connections where I knew Pat Croce from through some friends of a friend. So I think that was really really what got me into that stock.
Okay, so it was just straight up. You trusted the name alongside of it, and you put all your kind of eggs in that basket, the name basket.
Yeah, whatever little eggs I had at the time.
All right. Well, what happened to those eggs? So you said you're getting in around 3 or 4 cents. So did these eggs turn into a nice omelet, or did they go splat?
Nah, like most penny stocks, they ended up going splat. I think it had a little bit of a spike, and then just that slow decline down into the under a penny, double zeros, triple zeros, and I think it's flatline now.
Did you sell for a loss? You still own these shares? I mean, what?
Yeah, those I had sold for a loss.
Okay, so you at least did eventually, cut the loss. How long did it take you to finally accept? Because obviously it's a very hard detoxing process especially when you admitted that you were loaded on the Kool-Aid. So what was the final breaking point that said, you know what, this just isn't right. I'm going to sell for the loss. How long did that finally take, and kind of what needed to happen in your mind for you to just realize that for yourself?
It took a couple years for that to happen. I think it was a year or two before I ended up cutting the losses with that one. And it was just a matter of the stock wasn't going anywhere. And at that time, Pat was out. He was no longer involved in it. So it just wasn't happening. And I don't know, around here, Wawa's are the big convenience stores. And, it was in Wawa, and you could go in there and buy it, and then all of a sudden it was off the shelves there. So it was just everything just died. So at that point, it was just time to get out.
Now, a question that's going to determine if Clay wants to keep you on and let this podcast go, and it's not about movies yet. That'll be later on. But did you average down?
Oh yeah, I'm a big average down guy. Oh yeah.
How many times? How many times do you think you averaged down?
On that one, probably only a couple times. Yeah.
Only a couple times. So this makes me think that there are other penny stocks that you're doing. Is that true?
Yeah, there was.
And were you averaging down on these ones too?
I was, yes.
Guilty. Throw him in jail. Throw him in jail.
Yeah.
Where's that ban button at? Let me. So
I probably committed every crime in the book when it comes to penny.
I don't think we've ever heard anybody call them crimes. I've heard mistakes. I've heard, every crime in the book. That's a good way to put it. So tell us, did any of these crimes result in profits, or did you have any sort of fool's gold at all? Where you thought, hey, you did have some fool's gold. Tell us about some of the fool's gold.
Well, was it Z-Mans that just came out last week or the week before?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. As of the time of this recording, that was a few weeks ago.
I was hoping I was going to be the one to bring up Sponge Tech, but
no, Sponge Tech got you, or did you make money off of Sponge Tech?
That one I actually made money off of Sponge Tech because I got in. I think I got in early on that one. I saw the Kool-Aid starting. So I ended up making about $7,000 off of Sponge Tech, but I had a buddy who took out a line of credit on his house and put $700,000 into it.
How many thousand?
I think it was a couple $100,000 at the time. I wasn't in it for that much, but he was.
I hope not. I hope you weren't in Sponge Tech. I'm wherever you're at. I can't remember. You're in Wisconsin, aren't you?
No. Pennsylvania.
Okay, I would be coming to. Now, I'd probably send Doc or Patty or one of those northeastern people to slap you upside the head if you said you were in for a couple $100,000 on a line of credit. I don't care if you made. That's crazy, Ches.
Yeah, that's we come across it a lot. Some people think about funding a SureTrader account with a credit card or something, but yeah, this is the big boy adult step of this is much more drastic than taking out $10,000 off your credit card. This is taking equity out of your house in the hundreds of thousands. So yeah, we're gonna stick with crime on that. I like the word crime for that.
That is a definite crime. And sorry to cut you off, but that one I've never heard of that. I've made jokes about it, like, oh, we kind of joke around down in the chat room about take a line of credit out for stuff, but that's just a pure joke. Did your buddy, did he come out okay, or what happened to him?
Yeah, I think they came out okay, kind of break even on it, but they should have made a lot more. But it goes back to when these things start running and you've got the Kool-Aid flowing through your veins, you think this is going to put you on that island. You're never going to have to work again. And that's what we were all doing. At this point, we were in chat rooms, message boards. We were all over iHub with Sponge Tech. It was like quicksand. We got swallowed up in it.
And you were probably a pumper. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I really didn't talk at this point. I was just kind of
you were just
in
reading
the background.
Things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's the thing, is a lot of people are pumpers, but and there's nothing malicious behind it. They just totally believe everything, and then they're out there pumping it, and it's just a disaster. Where some people know exactly what they're doing, and they're pumping just so they can get you to buy their shares. But you're just, but you made 7,000. So did you just eventually have to panic sell when everybody else started to rush towards the exit, or what caused you to finally sell and realize that $7,000?
Yeah, it was pretty much a panic sell. I remember, I think the high that it touched was like 27 cents, and I was in at maybe 5 or 6. So it spiked up there and then started to plummet, and I think I got out maybe in the 16, 17 cent range.
If you had sold, let's just say up above 20 cents, how much gains were we looking at that point?
I think it was around 15,000 was the high.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, well, and nobody's ever going to sell the exact high, so we can't sit here and say, right, oh, you would have made 15,000. Good on you. At least you didn't go down with the ship. And $7,000, that's not bad at all. So, you've been doing all this different penny stock stuff. What finally made you think, I'm just penny stock stuff? it just doesn't seem to be working. When did that happen? And then, where did you go from there?
Well, it was kind of on and off again here over that 10-year period. So after Sponge Tech and we kind of died down on the penny stocks, but then once I started working at Ameritrade, probably around 2010, I got back into penny stocks again, and I had this great idea that stocks don't go any lower than 0001. So what I'll do is I'll buy at 0001, and then I'll just immediately sell at 0002, and I'll make 50%, and I'll just continue to do this.
No, that'd be 100%.
100. Well, yeah, 100.
I feel like we've heard this strategy before. You're not the first one to have thought of this.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was a great idea.
A lot of people think it's a great idea, but therein lies the problem when a lot of people think something's a good idea.
Yeah, and what you don't realize is the number one rule is liquidity. And yeah, you can buy down there, but you're never going to be able to sell. Yeah, so trying to flip those 0001s into 0002s, I was buying $100 and getting 1 million shares for every single one of those. And then I was stuck holding the bags on those because I couldn't sell them. There was just nobody, real low volume, and nobody was buying those. So come 2010, I started buying TTDZ at like 4 cents. And when you talk about averaging down, this one I followed down from about 4 cents all the way to 0001. And I ended up with just under 2 million shares at the time.
So your first buy was at 4 cents?
Yeah.
And then when was your last buy?
My last buy was probably I think it was in 2011 or 2012, which was when it was at 0001.
Okay, so you literally bought at 0001?
Yep.
Okay, now if that's not averaging down, then I don't know what is.
Yeah.
For first buy at 4 cents.
You can't actually average down any harder than that. There's no other buy point. That's the last buy point you can get it at.
That's a good point. That is as low as you can go.
Yeah, it is the last buy point, and I had it was just over 1.9 million shares. And then over the next couple years, I actually went in there to try and buy it 3 other times, $100 a million shares. So had that happened, I would have had close to 5 million shares at roughly, $1,200. Well, come 2014, I ended up hitting the penny stock lottery when the marijuana boom happened, because all of a sudden I look at my account and TTDZ starts moving, and it ends up getting taken over by a company. And that's when I really got back into the penny stocks and noticed that these things are flying. I mean, stocks were just going from pennies to 10 cents, 20 cents, up to $1. And I'm thinking this is going to be me.
Clay, have you ever heard of a penny stock company kind of quote unquote pivoting into a new upcoming market that might be the trend or a boom at some time? Have you ever heard of that? I've never heard of that.
It's maybe happened once or twice. I don't know. Sometimes I get the
it's not
impression
as
penny
common
stock
occurrence,
CEOs sit there, watch the news headlines, and think, "Oh, so mining is popular. Oh, gold prices are going up. Oh, wow, oil's rocketing up." And then a few years ago, oh, marijuana. Well, but they don't call it, pivoting. They call it something really fancy. They call it a reverse merge. We're going to reverse merge.
Synergy. Getting into the future. Yeah, all these funny words. Yep.
But what was your average cost on TTDZ? Because the reason I remember it is from the penny stock, or is from the marijuana boom. I'd never heard of it way back. So do you remember what your average cost was?
I don't remember what the average cost was. I just remember that those 1.9 million shares cost me about $900, a little over that.
Okay, and then keep on going. So you notice that TTDZ is moving. I mean, keep going. I mean, this is going to be good. This is going to be good.
Yeah, so that's when I started researching it and looking at all these other stocks that were doing the same thing. And again, I got caught up in the Kool-Aid. They had this new CEO. He was big into the marijuana business, and looking at all the other stocks and seeing where they went, I was like, wow, this is going to go to at least 10 cents and above. And I'm just counting all the dollar signs in my head, thinking about what I'm going to do with all the money. And I ended up selling my $900. So basically, I'm like, this is a free ride. I got a free shot. And I can just remember texting my wife during the day. The account's at $10,000 now. Account's at $20,000 now.
Oh man.
30, 40. I mean, it touched 5 cents. So at the time I had 1.5 million shares and I was looking at my account value and it was $75,000.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that for a second, just because the marijuana boom, it was a boom. There was no doubt about that. Those stocks, it was crazy. So please tell me you sold, and just I really hope that you made some money here. So I'll let you proceed onward. And this is the great part. Ches and I, at least I don't think Ches knows, but we try to make these interviews as real as possible. So I honestly don't know what happens here. So I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, just like hopefully the listeners are. So what happened?
Yeah. So at this point I wasn't telling people to get into it like I was in the past or anything. I kind of had, after the experience I've had, I was kind of nervous about it and thinking something was up. So
I know what was up. Your account was up to $75,000. That's what was up.
Right. And I didn't sell. And the only reason I didn't sell is because I was looking at stocks like Herb, ERBB, Hemp, VPOR. All those went like 15. I mean, I think Hemp went to 25 or 30. Yeah. VPOR was up
MJNA
8.
Was crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, there's no way I'm selling if this is under a dime. I'll start selling when it gets to a dime. I had also, you had been posting on the message boards at iHub with the videos and everything. So that's where I kind of got into your videos, was seeing those and kind of seeing what happened. And I think at that point I purchased the Penny Stock Survival Guide, because as I was doing that, I was like, okay, since I hit big on this, I want to kind of take that and be able to do it consistently and make this part of income that I have. And then I bought the Penny Stock Survival Guide, and that's when I realized what actually was going on. And unfortunately, the stock did not continue to go up. It did that spike and then started to come back down. So when it was all said and done, I probably walked away with about $30,000 in a brand new four-wheeler.
So it wasn't 75,000, it wasn't 60, but that's not bad, $30,000. But this was I think I heard you right. This was a multi-year hold, because you were buying a long time ago, and then it sounds like you forgot about it, and then all of a sudden one day you noticed it was up. So this was a long time in the making, right? Did I understand?
Yeah, I mean, I first purchased this, when I look back, it was in 2009.
Okay, so that was.
I also want to reiterate that, he recognized that he hit the quote unquote penny stock lottery. So I just want to make sure our listeners out there don't think that you can average into positions for multiple years and hopefully catch a boom, because like you said, he literally hit the lotto on this one.
Yeah. And if you're, that's a good point, Ches. I mean, these booms don't come around very often at all. For me, talking around with people were like, oh, the last time I've seen penny stocks act this way was back during the .com boom, which was, late 90s, early 2000s. And the marijuana boom was literally over a decade later. So if your strategy, like Ches said, is average into a bunch and then I'll wait a few years for the next boom, trust me, these booms don't come around that often. And awesome. Well, congratulations. And so you bought a four-wheeler with some of your 30,000.
I had to buy. I had to buy some toys with that, but I thought it was going to continue to go up at the time. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have that four-wheeler right now.
So did the Penny Stock Survival Guide help you out at all in terms of, I better sell? Or when you went through the course, were you just like, no, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about? Like, what were you thinking as you went through the course? Because I can see you saying, especially if you're really drunk on the Kool-Aid, this doesn't make sense. This guy's a moron.
No, my previous experience with these just hammered home the fact that, okay, this is what really happens in penny stocks. So as I'm watching that, I'm just thinking the whole time, why didn't you buy this 2 or 3 months earlier? And you probably could have sold closer to the top than you did.
Okay, so you bought after it had already hit the top?
Yeah. When it was on its way down is when I bought the.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, so as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, wow, I'm on the downturn of this, so I better get out as soon as I can.
Well, you're allowed to have hindsight, because you didn't purchase the course until kind of the later half of the boom. But so you come out of this with $30,000. You decide to kind of, I know you said you wanted to reinvest some of that money into, making yourself more consistent, treating it more like a business. So what, you go through that course. What is your next trade looking like? Is it you're trying to bottom pick another penny stock? Are you going to use some of this capital now to trade maybe those bigger names that you were kind of skeptical of, or, didn't have the capital at the time to? What's the next trade look like?
So the next trades, I still was in the penny stocks because I didn't sell all of the shares of the penny stock, and the holding period got me caught up in that because I was looking at long-term capital gains instead of short-term. So I was like, well, if I sell, then I have to pay only 20%. So I was still trading pennies at the time, and working at Ameritrade, I had access to a lot of educational tools with Invest Tools and Thinkorswim. So I thought I was good. I thought I knew what I was doing. I mean, I sat there. There was times I had 5x7 flashcards of the candlesticks. So I memorized all the candlesticks. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need anything else. So I was trading pennies, and
I gotta just interrupt you because you just hit a pet peeve of mine that might send me over the edge.
Okay.
If you think, and not you personally, but just in general, if you think that memorizing flashcards of candlestick patterns makes you a trader, oh, bless your heart. I'm going to take your money so easily. I mean, that's just not how the market works. It's just, I see all these books out there and they got 8 million candlestick patterns in them and memorize this, memorize that.
The cloudy dragon formation, the squawking duck formation. Yeah, I mean, these are all 100% always play out perfectly.
I mean, if you honestly think that that's going to get you a trader, I mean, trust me. And that's why most people are saying, oh, wow, there's too many. Candlesticks are too complicated. There's all those patterns and this. And no, I promise it's not that complicated. But even if you want to, go on that endeavor and try to memorize all these flashcards, I don't know. Matt might make me look really stupid right now and say, yeah, and memorizing all those flashcards turned me into a great trader. So please don't say that, Matt. But if it's the truth, then I guess go with it. But I have a feeling that that's not exactly what happened just because you had some flashcards and memorized some candlestick patterns. But I don't know. I'm kind of nervous now. I might be ready to have to eat some crow here, but we'll see.
No, actually, the reason I said that is because that's exactly not what happened. Is knowing those candlestick patterns or candlesticks and patterns does not make you a successful trader, because I took that money that I had and started trading penny stocks and ended up pretty much losing all of that trying to get back what I had lost from that penny stock. So I was trading. You remember T-Bev from last year? I probably lost $3,000 on T-Bev because I didn't sell. I bought and didn't sell when it went up and ended up taking about a $3,000 loss on that. You remember NEWL?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. O'Day, bless his heart. O'Day went down with that ship.
Yes. Yeah, I lost several thousand on that. So I was making some money, but my losses were a lot bigger than they were. So I ended up trickling away that $30,000 trying to get back what I had lost on TTDZ.
Okay, so
and it was all.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it was all because I thought I knew what I was doing. I was being in the business, and I still was caught up that I don't think I realized I hit the lottery just yet. I kind of did, but I wasn't accepting of it, and just having that ego that I knew what I was doing. I didn't need to go through other courses that you had. So I think that was my biggest downfall.
Well, and I do understand where you're coming from, because I mean, I see it all the time. You went through those flashcards, you memorized them, you knew what, the doji, gravestone, squawking duck, like Ched said. And I don't want to say that candlesticks don't work, because I'm all about candlesticks. My point here is that people make candlesticks way too complicated than what they need to be. And within that complication, that's what causes, them not to work, because you just got to take one at a time. Each one tells a story, and too many people try to just throw them into memorize these patterns, but you don't even need to do that. Just understand the story that each one has. So, and good for you. I mean, a lot of people never admit, yeah, my ego was in the way. I thought I knew this. I thought I knew that. But I don't need to take courses, and whether it's mine or somebody else's is besides the point, but you just think you have it all figured out. But as you admitted, and thank you for that, just transparency, yeah, that 30,000 really started to bleed away. So at what point did you finally kind of smack yourself across the face and say, hey, dingbat, I don't know what's going on? And, where did you go from that point?
Yeah, so I think it was around this time last year because I'd left Ameritrade, and I kind of fell out of the inner circle for maybe 7-8 months because I had lost that. So I was really feeling down, and I didn't want to trade any of the pennies anymore. I was like, there's no way you can make money doing this. And I was even trying to trade like under $5 stocks and using crazy strategies that I bought books on and everything. But last October, I just kind of was like, you know what? This isn't going to work. I'm changing jobs. I'm just going to, work, and that'll be it. But the itch, I mean, I love the market. I can't stay away from it. So back in the springtime, when the podcast started coming back and hearing everybody's stories with Ches and Nate and Hooch, I was like, you know what? This is a lifelong journey. It's not just a get-rich plan that you have to have. So that's when I kind of came back to the inner circle. And when I started trading again, I said to myself, look, if you're going to do this again, it's going to be a long time. You may not understand it right away, and it may take you a while to get the hang of it, but I'm going to go in head first. And that's when I ended up purchasing CTU, because I didn't the summer before when it came out, thinking that I knew everything. And after doing that, I feel like things, I'm taking it slower, and I feel like things are really starting to turn around.
So you bought CTU when exactly?
It was probably in April.
Okay, so you've been
this year. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been a member for a good 6 months now at this point in time, and I mean, I see your name on pretty much every webinar. So I mean, are you still trading right now, or are you just going through courses and paper trading? Kind of where does that stand?
No, I started trading live back at the end of August when the crash happened. So I like to think at the end of last summer I started getting into options because I wanted to trade the big board stocks, and I didn't have the capital to do it. And options are a great way to use leverage to trade the stocks that are actually legitimate companies. So that's what I did for the last 3-4 months through the summer. I was paper trading, using more of the advanced strategies. I like to think that I was kind of there with Ches and Gator last summer in those early conversations, talking about options and using those to play the big boards before I kind of took my little break. And it was nice when I came back and you were just finishing up your advanced options course, and it kind of all came together in the springtime. So I just took those 3-4 months to really get to know that and know how I wanted to trade.
So there's two things I really want to hit on here. First off was the big one that you kind of, when you came back to the market, you had accepted that this is not going to be overnight riches. You knew this is going to take patience. But, even after taking that long break or hiatus or looking for, the holy grail, you realize that, you enjoy being in the market. It's something you're going to come back to. And at the same time, though, you kind of embrace the patience that's required. And I think a lot of people, especially newer ones, don't really understand that, maybe that one day, like you hit the lottery, it took you 3 years to build that position, but, making 70,000 in a day or 30,000 in a week, that's not going to be common. It's going to take you years to get to a point where, you might be able to do that at some point. Clay and all these other guys, we don't really know many people who make 30,000 in a day, but there are people who do it. And then, touching on you coming back to options, I can attest to all the listeners out there that even before Clay kind of even looked into options at all, me, myself, Gator, and a couple other people, we're talking with Matt in the chat room about it and kind of seeing, just kind of getting our feet wet and figuring out where we can kind of go from there. So I know me and you have talked a lot actually offline, and we email back and forth and talk on Twitter all the time. But how have those? Are you finding more peace and more consistency with your trading in the options now, or are you still kind of working on finding, what strategies kind of fit you and work best for you?
Yeah, I think I'm finding the consistency with that. It's more of a, for me, what I like about it is I'm not an engineer like a lot of the members in the inner circle, but having that math background, everything's a process, and I'm a huge statistics person. So looking at standard deviation and being able to utilize that to my advantage is really what I look at. So I'm still kind of putting that plan in place to know exactly what I want to do and the strategies that I like. But I've got it down to about 5 or 6 different strategies right now that I utilize, that I feel comfortable with, that I know when I place a trade, what the expectations are. I know when I want to get in, where I want to get in at. I know when I want to get out, how much profit I'm going to try to lock in. So having that and being able to manage that on a daily basis and still work is kind of what is working for me right now.
What I mean, you don't have to go through all 5, but I mean, what are a couple of the strategies that you're kind of liking from the options perspective? And I guess what do you like about whatever ones you'll disclose to us here?
Mm-hmm. So I really like, the main thing I do is I'm always going to have call spreads on. So I utilize vertical spreads, iron condors, strangles, straddles, and recently I started to get into jade lizards, because with those you can kind of take the risk out of one side of a trade.
Yeah, it's really cool how you can, and I know we've touched on this in other podcasts too. It's the options have all these crazy names like you're talking about jade lizards and iron condors and stuff like that. But honestly, what they are is just a combination, adding and subtracting of a couple different options to form these. The names, I can promise all of our listeners out there, the names are more complicated than the strategies actually are, and they all have their place. And the jade lizard, you have no risk to one side. Essentially, you're getting paid for a shot on the direction you think it's going. There's just a lot of stuff you can do, and me personally, I found that it really reduces the risk of just saying I want to go long or I want to go short, and that's what I needed. I needed a way to kind of lower that risk for me, besides RVR, because that's going to play a different part in kind of some of these advanced option strategies. But yeah, that's cool. I know you're kind of going through a lot of different stuff and finding what works, and we've been talking about earning stuff and like 45 days positions and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I'm glad you're doing that, and I think a lot of other people in the community are starting to realize that even if this isn't their primary mode of trading, it's a good way to kind of supplement it, and especially for retirement accounts. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that advanced options, but what are you using any indicators or anything like that on top of your technical analysis? Are you even using technical analysis with these advanced options, or are you just looking at it particularly from a statistical standpoint?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was wondering the same thing, especially way back when you said you were going to be a math teacher and you like math. I mean, this stuff has got to be right up your alley. So yeah, great question. Are you even using charts right now? And I promise I'll only yell at you a little bit if you say no.
Yes, I mean, a lot of times people think that when you use options, you're not really using technical analysis or charts or anything like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, they come in hand. They go one with the other. I don't think you can do it with both. What I try to do is, and I was thinking about this last night, is I probably have a 15-point checklist to go through before I even get into a trade. Because the first thing I'm looking at is the IV percentile. Does it have high IVR so that I can sell premium in that? And then I'm going to look at the chart, and I'm going to figure out what's my bias. Do I have a directional bias? Do I think it's going up? Do I think it's going down? Do I think it's going to stay in a certain range? And then I'll go through those different strategies that I mentioned to you, where I'm going to look for a high probability of profit. I'm going to make sure that I'm receiving the proper credit. I don't sell anything unless I have at least a 70% probability of profit, or I'm going to sell it for at least $1 or more. So if I don't have those things, I'm moving on right away. And then once I have that, I'm looking at the chart to see where the support and resistance lines are, where the SMAs. So I want to line up. So for example, if I'm going to sell a call spread and I have a short bias on the stock, I'm going to look at where those resistance points are, and I'm going to put my wall up for that. Because and if it starts to head towards my short call where I know I have risk with it, I want to know that I've got a bunch of barriers it's got to go through to get there. Is it going to go through to 50 SMA? Is it going to go through to 200 SMA just to even get to that resistance line? Because with that, I feel pretty good that it's going to get rejected and stay below that, and I'm going to be able to keep the premium that I sold.
All I'm sitting here thinking right now is, holy crap, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And previously, this is the same guy that bought a penny stock at 4 cents and averaged all the way down to 0001. So, yeah, good on you. If you don't have a game plan, I don't think anybody does. So that's, I mean, have you noticed the distinction here, Ches? I mean, that sounds like a very well thought out plan.
Yep, you take away the Kool-Aid, you take away the feeling and everything, and you just kind of put it out there on paper and everything. You know, it's either logical or it's not. Very simple as that. And like you said, I love it. I think it's great.
No, that's I'm holding back the tears over here. I mean, I'm about to start crying I mean, this is fantastic. This is what it's all about right here. I mean, I'm actually kind of intimidated to talk to you now. You sounded pretty smart after that whole 15-point plan. So that's fantastic. But as we start to wrap things up here, we got to ask our probably favorite question in terms of losses. So losses back to, the penny stock days or, whenever, how did losses affect you then? How did you view them? Did you think they made you a bad trader versus how do you view losses now? And how does that, psychologically affect you?
Yeah, I think I would just kind of rationalize the losses to where you'll be able to make that back. Like, don't worry about it. Just keep moving on, and you'll continue. You'll be able to make those losses up, which never really happened because I didn't have that plan in place. So for me, it was just a way to compartmentalize it and just move on from that. But it did affect me. I mean, I really felt there for a while after losing a lot of that. I was pretty down in the dumps for a while emotionally with that. And I think that's what getting back into the market allowed me to do, was overcome those losses and move past that. Because I tell people all the time that are new to the inner circle, when they come in, you just enter rehab. Most of the time people are coming from
I love that. I like that.
Most of the time people are coming from the penny stock market, and they've either gotten burnt or just had a bad experience. And I feel like you need to get cleansed when you come into the inner circle and start talking to people that have been doing this for a while and are successful at it. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because I feel like getting that out and cleansing yourself and being able to move on is an important part of this trading process. And I felt like I was in the on heroin or something when I was in the penny stock market. And to come off of that and be able to have a plan, it feels really good now.
I'm actually tearing up now, Clay. Could you pass the Kleenex over here?
I was going to say, and it takes a lot for Ches.
Yeah, it takes a lot to get me to well up over here. But yeah, I mean, I can't even say just how great that is to hear. But yeah, obviously a drastic difference in kind of outlook regarding losses and an approach to the market. But obviously, I do have a time machine, and I'd be happy to lend it to you after hearing the story of going from penny stock heroin addict to trading based on math and checklists and stuff like that. But if you could go back in time to these days when you were trading penny stocks, right when you were fresh in the market, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
I would I definitely tell myself to be patient. It's I especially when I came into the inner circle, I felt like I wanted to be one of the guys that was in there all the time and do this trade, do that trade, and hitting the home runs and making all this money. But really, I didn't know what I was doing. So just be patient and learn is what I go back and tell myself, other than, hey, sell these shares now.
I like that, though. Be patient, because, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, get educated. But, get educated, that still can be kind of rough, because education without patience is not going to work anyways. So, but starting off realizing you have to be patient, that way when you go into education, you know that you have to be patient. So that's actually really, I like that, because that's a good point. I mean, education or not, if you're not going to be patient about things, then it's still not going to work out. So yeah, good perspective there. So now we reach do or die time. So, and we were joking about this earlier. I mean, some people on past podcasts are like, "Oh, I don't know. I've never heard of these questions before." And it's like, no, we ask them to everybody. So, but I think Matt is prepared. Like I already said, he's a reality TV geek with me, so he's already on my good side. But he could get on my bad side based on the answer to some of these questions. So I'll kick things off, and then Ches will provide cover fire here. But what is your favorite movie?
So, favorite movie? I'll give you this. My favorite comedy is Dumb and Dumber. So,
Okay, well then you have to give me a quote. That's tradition. If you say Dumb and Dumber, then you have to give me a quote.
let me think here. What's my favorite one? I think when they're heading into Aspen, and he says, "Just go, man, just go."
Ooh, that's warm. Yep, see, there we go. Good. That is a good quote. And then their snot's all frozen. So, yeah, fantastic. Good answer. But what about non-comedy?
My favorite movie of all time is it's got to be Almost Famous. I'm a rocker. I'm a rock star at heart, so I think that's my favorite, and I like it because Gator always calls me the enemy as a financial advisor, and then if you know that movie, that's a line from there.
Okay. All right. I've not seen that, but that's one of like Kate Hudson's in that one, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now, so I'll have to add it to the checklist then. This is good. This is helping build my wife and I's movie list. So
That is true. You have gotten a lot of suggestions. I just remember, obviously it's October. I actually live near where Back to the Future was filmed in that parking lot. So yeah, you've gotten a lot of good movie suggestions.
and I have, and my wife and I have gone through all three Back in the Futures now. So
That's right. But Matt, what would you say is your favorite meal and dessert?
Barbecue ribs is definitely my favorite meal.
that a boy. That's a good answer. I'm
Yeah.
hungry right now. Are you a full rack guy or do you take the half rack?
Now I take the full rack.
That a boy. Yeah, there we go. IT
Yeah.
Nate, the producer of the show, he takes like, can I have 3 ribs, please? So he doesn't
Full
even
rack,
take.
full rack all the way.
I love being able to mock him when he's on mute and cannot defend himself. So it's talk about a position of power. So anyway, sorry I interrupted you, but that's a good answer. That'd probably be one of my answers. But what about dessert?
Yeah, desserts. My mom makes this Oreo dirt cake concoction. I'm not even sure what it is, but you cannot stop eating it once it has it. I mean, it's just Oreo cookies crumbled all over it. It's delicious. So
What color is it?
It's white and black.
It's dirt. I call that dirt, and that's what I request for my birthday meal every. See, when I married into or my wife's family, they always grew up when it's your birthday, you get to make a special request. Well, now I'm part of the family, I get to make a request, and that's what I request. Dirt. That's what I call
Yes.
it. But yeah, or.
Yep.
This is kind of scary, man. Ribs. We're gonna have to meet up sometime because we'll have no problem when it comes to food. But
I really wish I could make it to Chicago on Friday, but with this job, I'm just don't have the time right now.
just quit your job and buy penny stocks. You'll be okay.
Yeah, just find a 0001 and you won't have to work another day in your life. But what would you say you do for fun as far as hobbies and stuff, and that's not trading related specifically?
So I'm a big outdoor guy. I like to hike, camping, do a lot of trail running, snowboarding. So anything outside in the nature, I'm all about.
Okay, this will be a good segue into this question. So where's a place you would like to visit someday?
I would have to say I would like to go back to Cabo San Lucas. I got married there, and that place is a lot of fun.
Great. I've never actually been there, but I've heard it's really nice. Now, another very, very important question that we always get some mixed answers on is, what do you believe 3 words for successful traders should be? What are those 3 words?
I'd have to say knowledge. You can't do this without having knowledge, having a plan. And the third thing, which I think would be the most important, but you can't have the first 2 without this. You got to be disciplined to follow the plan. If you're not disciplined, which I wasn't for a while, not honoring those stop losses, it's just not going to work out for you.
Because you can always make money, but as I always tell people, making money is not the hard part about the market. It's hanging on to that money and making money consistently. That's the hard part. So yeah, good point there. And overall, a great interview. And I don't know, I feel like we might be long lost brothers or something. We like Survivor, we like ribs, and we like dirt or Oreo cookie or whatever you call it. I call it dirt, but yeah. So
that's what it is. Dirt cake.
It's fantastic. Well, Matt, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know you said your daughter was sleeping right now, so I think we got you in before she wakes back up. So I appreciate you fitting us in today.
No problem. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
And if you can make it to Chicago, man, if you can pull some strings last second, you should definitely come hang out. You'd fit in fantastically, I'm sure.
I don't know. I heard there was no food and no bowling for the latecomers. So.
Well, I'll make an exception for you if you can show up. That'd be we'll make it work. But thanks again for those of you listening. I'd like to make a few small requests. If you're listening to this on claytrader.com, please click that share button. Any comments you leave below, Ches and I do read those and would be happy to respond. And also for those listening on iTunes, if you can leave us a rating and a review, things like that really do go a long way. And, I keep an eye on those. And, as long as that number of reviews, and they're good reviews, obviously keep going up, then yeah, we're going to keep on, pushing these out and hopefully inspiring people and just helping people to learn something and stay motivated and, more importantly, stay realistic within their trading. So thank you again for hanging out with us. We will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.